Got stuff in my mouth. Hello. I've been getting a fair number of questions recently about teaching, and it's no small secret that my day job is teaching high schoolers the arts. I'm certainly by no means an expert on teaching, but I do feel like I have these tiny little nuggets of wisdom that I've figured out and sorted out for myself. So, welcome to the first of maybe a couple, maybe many, teacher tips with Musical Mash.
Teacher tips with Musical Mash.
Will that work as an intro jingle? Probably. This one I highly advocate for arts teachers, especially theater teachers if you find yourself in a kind of open plan classroom like me, open plan being code word for cafeteria chair storage, is to start using a sign-in sheet with your classes. Put it out by the door, make a column that says name, and then print, and then have kids sign in as they enter. The first 5 minutes of your class are probably the most important 5 minutes. Just like meeting a person for the first time, you set the tone for the rest of the period with how those first 5 minutes go. And it is an unfortunate happenstance in the world we live that a lot of times you have to dedicate some of that time to taking attendance. And that's reason enough to offload that work into a sign-in sheet by the door. Then you don't have to waste that time. But veteran teachers will know you're not really wasting that time. After maybe the first week or so of school, you're not really taking overt attendance. You don't have to call roll. You just take a look at who's there. If you have a seating chart, you use that, and then you're done. But I still think you should have a sign-in sheet, and here's why. It sets up a routine with the kids you teach, especially in a classroom like mine where we may be set up in all sorts of different arrangement during the day. It lets the kids know that this constant thing will be how you begin the class. You walk in, you put your name on a sheet. Often I have a tiny little whiteboard with additional instructions for the day. Sign in, get your binder, sit in a seat, find a partner, whatever it is, your bell ringer for the day, right next to the sign-in sheet. And so it gives the kids that kind of mental check-in to start the period. And I really do mean that mental check-in. I mean, this is a little oogie boogie, but to an extent, I feel like when a kid puts their name on a sheet that says the name of the class at the top, they are mode switching. They're turning their mind off from lunch or math or whatever it is they're coming from and turning their mind on to theater by writing their name down on the sheet. Because as I said, I already know whether they're there. Don't tell my kids this, but I don't really need the sign-in sheet for most of my classes. But then here's the additional benefit. When you end up with those moments where you really do need to offload that attendance work, like with my after-school theater kids where I might have 40 or 50 kids showing up and I don't have a specific roster to check. I don't want to have to go through all 60 or 70 kids that might be there that day. Then the sign-in sheet is really useful. And because you've been teaching and fostering this skill in your more day-to-day curricular classes, it's just something the kids do naturally. They know, walk into the room, sign the sheet, done. And then the last tip, which you shouldn't start doing till maybe a month into classes, but on your sign-in sheet, start a column with a question. Something easy. Waffles or pancakes? Star Trek or Star Wars? Britney Spears or Justin Timberlake, whatever, doesn't matter. The kids will always be confused by it the first time. They'll be like, what does this waffles or pancakes mean? And you just tell them, waffles or pancakes, you gotta pick. And it's a fun, quirky way to start class. It gets them thinking and it gets them doing some kind of meta-analysis in their mind, which, it's stupid and silly, but it's like starting a lawnmower. You're getting them ready to be in the mode you want them in for your class. But it also gives you that check-in, that kind of secret check-in with kids if you ever need it. Like, for example, winter break is coming up, and a lot of kids have great times over winter break, and some kids, being with family isn't the most exciting. And when you come back from winter break, you can make a question right there that's something like, how was winter break? Fun, boring? Are you happy or sad to be back at school? And it feels like one of those quirky pancakes or waffles sort of things, but then when you check the sign-in sheet, you can do that kind of mental check-in and see if there are any kids you need to, go touch base with, make sure they're doing okay. And it took none of your time and none of your effort because it is just this system that you've built into your classroom. Sign-in sheets, a teacher tip from Musical Mash.